compared to current law than CalSTRS. Lastly, when you do the analysis, the people who take the biggest hit are the lowest compensated. That was not the goal. But given the types of things that were done by age and service, those who are the lowest compensated take the same proportional hit, somewhat balanced on the CalPERS side by Social Security, not as well balanced on the CalSTRS side because we don't have Social Security. So those were the outcomes. So are we going to immediately address and do all this stuff this year? You got to be joking. Pension change is basically done for the next 3 years to 4 years. The legislature's done it. Thank you very much. We're out of here. They do not want to address the issue, and given some of the other issues out there, we don't want them to address the issue because there are still pressures to cut. We believe we've cut enough. Given at the store, not time to do this again. So what's left? The unfunded obligation and adequate funding for CalSTRS was our highest priority last year and still our highest priority. And this is against with CTA, Calrta, AXA, CFP, everybody. We need to ensure that our retirement system has adequate funding. Not that the benefits won't be paid. Not that it's going to run out of money next year. But we need to ensure long-term adequacy for the retirement system. And the politics of that will be very, very difficult. Because you only have 3 ways in which you can deal with the unfunded obligation. The first is cut benefits. And that doesn't affect the unfunded obligation for the people already there, which is the $64 billion we're talking about. All it does is potentially address future unfunded obligations, the accrual from new employees. Cut benefits. Been there, done that. We did that last year. Not going to do it again. 2, increase our earnings assumption. I don't think that's going to happen either. What's left is contributions. And that will be the political fight that we'll be in for this year, and I hope this year only, that it does not fall into next year. State, employer, and employee. As we come out of the Great Recession, where people have lost salary, where we've had furlough days, where we've increased class size, where we've cut other programs, where the state has not provided their employees salary increases, where they have changed the health benefits to reduce the health benefits. All of that, talking about contribution rate increases in this environment will be very, very difficult. But the reality is, if we don't talk about it now and address it now, it doesn't get better. $64 billion, even in Sacramento, is a lot of money. Or to phrase it differently, that's taking every single penny of the Proposition 98 minimum guarantee for a whole year plus $10 billion. We can address it. We've done it in the past. We can do it slowly, but we have to start. We have to have something in place, and we have to go forward. I'm not saying we'll increase contribution rates for 13, 14, or 14, 15. But we have to have a plan in place because it just doesn't get better. And so the politics of that is going to be tough. Why? 38 new members who do not understand CalSTRS. And asking them to make these types of votes is tough because they really don't understand the system. And they need to be educated. And we'll be doing that. CalSTRS will be doing that. A lot of us will be doing that. But 38 new members is a lot of new members. Biggest freshman class since 1934. Ed and I weren't around here then, so Now, we're just reporting what the media says. It's going to be difficult. But we have to start that process because that is our highest priority. And the politics of it, like I say, are very, very difficult. How much from the state, how much from the employer, how much from the employee, because you also have legal limitations. You cannot increase employee contributions unless you provide a benefit equal to the contribution increase. Part of our education, part of the political problem is some members believe, well, you reduce benefits, doesn't that eliminate the unfunded obligation? No, that's going forward. This is for service already accrued. So we have to address service already accrued. Hard discussion. We'll be looking for your help. But the last comment, the Department of Finance hates when I say it. The state's the plan sponsor. Earned benefits have to be paid. So don't worry about your benefit. Just that if we ever get to the point where we're spending every single penny of state money on CalSTRS, they might want to take the dice, roll the dice on a court case on what is a state obligation. We'd prefer to avoid that. Your benefits are fine, CalSTRS is doing well, but it still doesn't address the heart and soul of where we are. And the politics of that, we need your help on, quite frankly. We're going to need you to start educating members, new legislators. And we'll be asking for your help on that. Both current retirees, current teachers, we're all in this together. We've done it before. When I first started this business, I was working for the state, and CalSTRS was very, very well funded. It was somewhere around 23% funded. It took time. We got up to 100% funding. We have time. We'll get back to it. But it's not going to happen overnight. So that's real close, real fast on the politics of where different people were. We still don't know the politics of where the administration is on increasing state contribution and how to deal with the unfunded obligation. But it is our highest priority, and it's the highest priority for CalSTRS for most of the client groups. And so you'll be hearing more about this as we go forward during the year. With that, I'd be more than pleased to answer any questions. I do appreciate you coming here. I know it's after work and it's late. I'm not going to be battling at you a whole bunch. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than pleased to answer them. Yes, ma'am. Yes, CalPERS, state CalPERS, almost all CalPERS, but not all. There's 4 or 5 different groups in CalPERS, but CalPERS state employees, CalPERS school employees, and some of the CalPERS contract agencies are tied in with Social Security, some are not. That goes back to Governor Brown the first, not Jerry in '75, Pat. Governor Brown the first, when the federal government looked at having all the state employees, all public employees going to Social Security. They said, we want you all to come in, but you get to vote on it. The state employees in California voted no, and Governor Brown said, okay, I understand that. So for current employees, if you want to opt in, you can, and all new employees will be part of Social Security. They went that way. CalSTRS, the employees at that time were paying more, had a better disability benefit, had a better beneficiary benefit than Social Security at that time. You didn't have Medicare. So in order to have a better retirement, they were willing to pay for a better retirement. As it turns out, had they been able to look 40 years down the road, probably would have voted differently. But at the time, it made a lot of sense.
Except you have to bear in mind that maybe the CalPERS, like the school employees, are now contributing. They contribute 7% for CalPERS, and they're contributing 6% for Social Security. So they're paying 13% for their retirement, and you're only contributing 8%. So they're getting a benefit, but they're paying for it, and so is their employer. So it's not a free benefit to them by any stretch.
No, not free, but the outcome is.
Yeah, trust me, we've looked at what it would mean if CalSTRS was in Social Security. It would cost a fortune would not get a
Anything.
commensurate benefit
Right.
for it.
So, long way. Yes, ma'am. Well, if the state of California goes bankrupt, which is constitutionally prohibited, the states cannot go bankrupt, then yes, CalSTRS would go down the tubes at the same time, but the state cannot go bankrupt. It has an order of obligation. CalSTRS is what? Number 2? Number 1 is paying state bonds. Number 2 is CalSTRS. After that, number 3 is public education. It's not in the books. Yes, sir. Right now it's 69. We had been 108, 110. It took us from 1972, when it went to an actuarially funded system, to 1998 to be 100% funded. We then went up, dropped back down. The last 4 years have not been good. The dot-com bust has not been good. And so we were not able to achieve the earnings expectations that we had had, which are still good over a 20-year period, but we're still in a case where it's tough. And you just can't earn your way back out once you have that type of once-in-a-lifetime market crash. We were coming back after the dot-com bust. What took us out was I'll just say the unanticipated economic reversal of the Great Recession. I won't say unbridled Wall Street greed. Okay, maybe I will say it.
Anything else, Fred? Dave, thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Dave, correct me if I state this wrong, because I think I'm stating what he told me on a video a while back. Is the unfunded is basically if you have your house and you're paying your rent and you still owe a lot more money on it, a lot more money is the unfunded. So you all are unfunded if you're living in a house that's not paid off. That's pretty much right? So it's not an unheard of thing when you tell people, you know, oh, CalSTRS has an unfunded, well, yeah, have you got your house paid off yet? No. When is it going to be paid off? Well, mine's 2030, I think, or 40. I'm going to be real old. You know, yeah, I'm unfunded too. My whole house is. So, you know, that's how you can explain it to your friends. So politics is playing a big part. And I know teachers are usually very good at helping people. That's why we are in that profession. We like to be helpers. We don't like to get politically active. Well, times change. We have to get politically active if we want survival. And so when you hear from your building reps or your association members, you need to write to your legislator. You need to do this. Now's the time to start doing it. In the light with that, you all know Prop 30, Calrta put out $800,000 of PAC money. And it's the first time that I know of that they've used it, and Prop 30 went down. Not because of just our $800,000, but that's not a drop in the bucket for any organization to put out to pass a proposition. I'm sure we got a little bit started on the Social Security, the WEB, windfall elimination provision, and the GPO, government pension offset. That affects everyone in here. Is it 7 or 15 states? I forget what it is. 14 states in our country are affected by that. Police, firefighters, educators. The other group doesn't have to worry about it. But you, as a wage earner, whether you're the man or woman, or man and man, or woman and woman in the group, you won't get as much for your money that you made prior to being an educator or while being an educator that you paid in. And the spouse side of it will get less also. So that's something Calrta is working on. April 3rd, right gentlemen back there? I'm getting a nod in the head. April 3rd, we're sending people back to Washington, D.C. to contact the legislators back there, talk to them in their offices in D.C. Locally, we are going to go visit the local legislators or their office people and talk to them and do some education, because we have new people and new seats also locally. So that's something else you need to be aware of. Ed Drummond's our next speaker. He had his under-degree work, what do you call it? Yeah, pre-graduate work, anyway, from the University of Chicago, did 2 masters at Berkeley. He went to work experience through the Legislative Analyst Group. He worked in the Chancellor's Office for the CSUs. His worked in the Senate Committee on it looks like appreciation. But appropriation. I don't appreciate it at all. And in 1998, went to FCRS. And he is the, let's see if I get this right, Deputy Chief Executive Officer for Planning, Design, and Communications. There you go.
Okay, thank you. I also appreciate the opportunity to meet with you. There's actually a very large crowd, and it's good to talk with all of you. And there's a couple things I definitely want to talk about, sort of following up on David's talk. Is one, what was the outcome of all that discussion around pensions, and how does it affect you? And how does it affect your future colleagues? It has more effect on your future colleagues, so I'll talk some about that. But there are some things that does affect you, not quite so dramatically. And then the other one is sort of where are we going with this, with the funding of the plan? You know, I just sort of follow up on this, on the analogy of the mortgage. The circumstances that we're in is we have a mortgage, but we don't have the income to pay it down. So that's what we're confronting. If we had, there's absolutely nothing wrong, as he said, there's nothing wrong with an unfunded liability, like there's nothing wrong with a mortgage. But heaven forbid you should have a mortgage, you don't have the income to actually pay the mortgage. And that's a situation that we're finding because the mortgage got so big because the market did so poorly last decade. So let me spend a little bit of time, and you'll get the benefit of having a relatively high-level workshop on how your benefits work. So maybe it'll make it a little bit easier when you do go to a workshop or see a counselor. I want to spend a little bit of time about how CalSTRS works now for you. And you know, many of you are familiar with the three-legged stool that a lot of people in the United States are familiar with, where you might have gotten some sort of a retirement benefit from your employer. It used to be a pension like what you have here at CalSTRS, or more likely now it's a 401k type of pension, which trust me, isn't nearly as good as a real pension like CalSTRS is. And then they also get Social Security, and then hopefully had some other savings of their own through an IRA or something like that. You also have a three-legged stool that we provide, and so we have this hybrid system. It's unique in California. So let me spend a little bit of time on that. The one that you're most familiar with is a defined benefit. It's a traditional defined benefit where the benefit that you get is a function of how old you are when you retire, how long you work, and how much money you make pretty much probably toward the end of your career, either your last year or your last 3 years. And it's a formula that we have that we calculate what you get. And you'll get that benefit just by working it and being that old and making that much money, regardless of how well we do in our investments. And that represents the majority, the overwhelming majority of the benefit you get. All of you are probably, may not realize this, but you also participate in another program called the Defined Benefit Supplement Program. It's a cash balance program. And for the 10 years beginning in 2001, some of your contributions are going into this program. And the way this program works, it's got some features like a 401k or a 403b and features like a defined benefit, in that you have an account that your contributions go into. But what's different about it, and the nice thing about it, is that you don't have to make any investment decisions. We do the investment for you. And we will guarantee you a rate of return on that investment, as well as a return on the contributions that you make. So for the 10 years in 2001, a quarter of your contributions are going into this account, and it was earning interest. And then a couple of years after that started, then if you worked any amount of service beyond your full contract, so for example, if you taught summer school, you did after-school activities like coaching or a yearbook advisor or any of those extra duties, the contributions that you made to us or that your employer made to us for that additional service also went into your defined benefit supplement account, and it earned interest. It's accumulated over time. Every year when you get your retirement product report, you can see how much money is in your account. And then when you retire, you can take that money out either in a lump sum, or if you've got enough money in there, you can take it out as a monthly annuity, either for the rest of your life the rest of your life and someone you name or for a period of time. It's sort of your choice. So this is something that helps supplement your benefit that you're going to get from here. And most teachers actually get this benefit because even though the 2% amount is no longer being directed to your account, most of the members do work something after school or some other extra activity, so they get that benefit. And then the last piece of the puzzle is our defined contribution plan. All of you know, because you probably experienced this, that you have multiple options as far as a 403B plan or maybe a 457 plan. Most of them are insurance companies that will offer you a product of some sort. We also offer a product that's called Pension 2. Most of the school districts offer it. You can check to see if we're in your school district. It's different from most of the other ones because it's not an annuity product. They're actually mutual funds. So like Vanguard or TIA Craft or those kinds of products that you're familiar with are the products that we offer, and we disclose all the fees. There's no hidden fee or anything like that. And you can put additional money in to try to get your benefit up to a level that will help you maintain your standard of living. For the average member who's retiring now, this piece, the biggest piece of your puzzle, only replaces about 53% of your final salary. What you really need in order to maintain your standard of living after retirement is somewhere between 80 and 90 and maybe even 100% of your salary. Depends upon whether or not your employer helps pay for your health care after retirement. So if you're only earning about 53% here, this provides a few percentage points depending on how much work you do. You're clearly going to have to do some more on your own to maintain your standard of living. So we offer you those kinds of opportunities to do that. So that's the way, that's sort of generally the system. So I sort of quickly talked about it, that the DB program is a formula-based benefit. The DBS is a cash balance benefit, so the contributions you put in, your employer puts in, earns interest, and so depending on how much of the additional work you do, you'll get a benefit from that, and then Pension 2 can help supplement that through a 403B. So in terms of the pension bill that was passed last year, what impact does that have on you as a current member, and what impact does it have on future members? So there's two documents that we made available to you that hopefully you picked up. The first one is this chart here that sort of summarizes the impact of AB 340, and I'll talk a little bit about that, but you can sort of refer to that on some of the issues. If you don't, I think we probably have extra copies of that available. The bill was passed in September. It's known as PEPRA, the California Public Employees Pension Reform Act of 2013, and it took effect January 1st of this month, and it affects both current and new CalSTRS members, but in different ways. Most of the changes apply to new members. So what I'm about to talk about doesn't apply to you because you're an existing member. What we are referring to is a 2% at 62 or a 60 member. So the new members are subject to the new benefit structure. And what represents a new member? The new member is somebody who was first hired to perform service that could have been credited to CalSTRS on or after January 1, 2013. So for the overwhelming majority of people, if you taught before this year, you're considered a 2% at 60 member. Otherwise, you're a 2% at 62 member. You're a new member. A lot of people, some people may have been hired before the end of the year, but they didn't actually start teaching until this year. They are also subject to the old benefit plan. So basically, the only people who most of these rules apply to are people who first entered the profession in California, in the public schools, either at K-12 or community college, beginning this year or thereafter. If you ever taught in the public schools in California at that level, sometime in the past, even if you quit teaching, took your money out and came back afterwards, didn't join CalSTRS for whatever reason, then you're going to be under the old benefit formula. Okay, so all of you undoubtedly are in the old benefit formula. So anyway, so the people who are, as I said, people who are in the new formula are the people who are hired after this year. Now, one of the things they did inadvertently with us is that they meant to have, in the legislation, meant to have a very broad definition of who was, for lack of a better term, grandfathered into the existing benefit structure. With the other pension plans, not only was it based on whether or not you were a member of that system before the end of the year, but it was also were you a member of any other system before the end of the year. And you changed jobs within 6 months to come into the new system. So for example, if somebody was a CalSTRS member in 2012, quit teaching in 2013 and then became a classified employee, they would have been under CalPERS, but they would have been under the old CalPERS formula because they were a public employee before the end of the year. They didn't draft it right with us, but our expectation is that they will fix that so that if somebody was, say, a CalPERS member or a county employee before the end of the year, and then within 6 months of quitting that job became a CalSTRS member after this year, or after last year, they'll be under the old formula. Again, this doesn't affect you because I'm assuming all of you are tried and true CalSTRS members, and this doesn't matter, but at least for your future colleagues, that's something that may have an impact on them. So the one significant change is right now, under the law,